Chained Echoes is a game that I initially had absolutely no plans to play. In late 2022, I was busy with a load of other RPGs and couldn't see myself fitting it in. But that was when everybody on the planet wouldn't stop talking about it, which led to a serious case of FOMO. Yep, I was not about to miss out on this one, and I am so glad that I didn't, because Chained Echoes was by far the surprise packet of the year. Chained Echoes is inspired and plays clear tribute to the games that we loved in the past, such as Suikoden, Chrono Trigger and Xenogears. From the visuals to the combat, to the music, to the story beats, to the mechanics, it's almost as if this game was specifically tailored to me. And this is what makes Chained Echoes so easy to recommend to every JRPG fan of the 90s and early 2000s. But I think that the most impressive thing is that aside from some artwork and the soundtrack, the entire game was made by one single guy. To put it simply, some people know how to make games and some people don't. Matthias Linder, he knows what's up. Before we get into the review, if you liked this video, it would help me out a lot to hit that like button and sub for more JRPG content coming soon. Also, let me know what you thought about the game in the comments below. Alright, let's get into it. I'm going to start things off by talking a little bit about Chained Echoes' presentation. Here we have an absolutely gorgeous pixel game that took my breath away every step of the way. It really proves that you don't need HD 2D graphics to be pretty. This style is my jam, and I really wish more games looked this good. On a side note, after playing this game, it was really interesting to go back to see the original Kickstarter footage and how the visuals and the game as a whole evolved over time. As far as the visuals go, I really can't find fault anywhere, except for maybe the pixel portraits. Since there is no voice acting at all, I would have liked more variation in these portraits based on the characters' emotions and feelings at the time. But this high standard of visual presentation extends to the music too, which can be praised just as highly. Eddie Marianacro may not be a well-known name in the industry, but his work here was sensational, with countless tracks that complemented the game perfectly. Chained Echoes takes place on the continent of Vlandis, with its three kingdoms having been at war for generations. The main character, Glenn, is a young mercenary hired to fight in the war and is tasked to destroy a crystal in possession of the enemy. Little did he know that destroying this crystal would instantly obliterate everything around him, except for him and his mercenary friend Kylian. Consumed by guilt, Glenn now sets out to find out more about this mysterious crystal and to prevent a similar tragedy from ever happening again. Chained Echoes' story is sensational. I was completely hooked from start to finish, and after those end credits rolled, I was left wanting more. Now, there are quite a few unresolved plot threads at the end of the game, so my fingers are crossed that there will be a sequel in the future. There really are so many great moments throughout this lengthy tale, with many story beats and other mechanics reminding me of my favourite JRPGs of the past. I mean, at the start of the game, Glenn is woken up by his mum in his bedroom, which turns out to be a dream, and this of course is a hilarious little nod to Chrono Trigger. The Suikoden series also receives a lot of love in terms of plot points and mechanics, which was music to my ears since it's my favourite series of all time. And while the overall writing is brilliant, there are some clear translation issues and lines that could have been worded better, but you know, what 90s game didn't have this issue? Now, it's really hard to pull off an awesome story without a great cast of characters, and Chained Echoes easily hits a home run in this area. There is a very large cast of playable party members, some of which are entirely optional, and I loved this. Each party member is unique and likable in their own way, with their own reasons to fight alongside Glenn. One of the highlights of Chained Echoes for me was learning about the character's past, and some of these twists and revelations were highly emotional. Finding out why Bathraz talks in the third person, for instance, my god, let's just say I'm glad I had a box of tissues nearby. Just like the rest of the game, the turn-based combat system feels very 90s. You take 4 characters into battle at a time, and the large majority of your actions will be using your character's unique skills. The major factor that makes this combat so good is the overdrive system. There are 3 states to the overdrive gauge, and the skills that you use will cause your position on the gauge to move left or right. The left portion of the gauge is yellow, where you dish out and receive normal damage. Then there's the sweet spot, green, where you deal more damage and receive less damage, so you're going to want to be in this area. Finally, there's the red zone, where you deal less damage and receive more damage. If you're in the red, you probably won't last too long. Now, when you receive damage or use a skill, the gauge marker will move to the right. However, if you use a skill of the type indicated at the top left of screen, it will move to the left. Keeping it in the green is crucial, but this means that you'll constantly have to change your battle strategy to ensure that you use the right skills. This overdrive system is genius and created loads of very intense strategic boss fights. Other things to consider is being able to swap in and out your 4 chosen reserve characters, and also ultra moves, which are unique to each character and can be unleashed when you fill up your party's shared gauge. There really is a lot to think about at all times. Fighting on foot isn't the only way to kick ass. You can also battle in your mechs, which are known as sky armors. The mechanics here are a bit simpler than fighting on foot, and there's nowhere near as much customization that can be done with your mech, but it's still a nice change of pace. I also appreciated that the game doesn't overdo the requirement to fight in mechs, as was the case towards the end of Xenogears. Now, one of the rare issues I had with Chained Echoes is a lack of information provided for just about everything, such as stats and status elements. And just to add fuel to the fire, you also can't review tutorials once you've already seen them. There really needed to be a help section in the menu where you could read up on the specifics and view old tutorials. Upgrading your characters in Chained Echoes is quite different to what you would expect in an RPG. This is because there are no levels in the traditional sense. However, there are still many things that you can do to get your party stronger. Every time you defeat a boss, your characters will earn a skill point, and these can be spent on learning a new battle skill, a passive skill, or a stat upgrade. Once you learn enough skills, a new skill tier will unlock, providing you with more options. At the end of the game, once I defeated all story and optional bosses, I learned all skills for all characters. However, at that point, there was still a load of customization that could be done due to only being able to equip a certain number of battle and passive skills at a time. Add to this equipment, classes, and crystals, and you have yourself lots to tinker with. Now, back to crystals. These can be used to provide extra passive abilities and stat increases in battle, and creating the best crystals to embed in your equipment can be quite complex. But with this comes an abundance of menu hopping. You'll be doing a lot of scrolling up and down and switching through menus when combining and comparing crystals. You also have to manually unequip and equip crystals to new equipment, which takes way more time than it should. In an otherwise pretty easy to use menu system, crystal management was a pain in the ass. One of the best things about Chained Echoes is that there is so much to do. After finishing the game, I loaded my save and went back to do everything I could. When was the last time I did this? I can't remember. I'm a credits and done kind of guy, so this says a lot. The exploration here is incredible and among the best I've ever experienced in a 2D RPG. Each of the large regions has loads of secrets to discover on both foot and through flying around in your sky armor. There's elaborate side quests, unique powerful monsters, class unlocks, and hidden areas and chests around every corner. Later in the game, you'll also get your own HQ, which starts off as an empty island but soon grows as you recruit more characters around the world. These characters will all provide different benefits, such as opening up stores or giving you hints on where other recruits can be found. This has Suikoden written all over it, and my first thoughts were, oh my god, are they really doing this? Again, at times I felt this game was made just for me. One final optional feature that I loved is the rewards board, which grants you rewards for completing certain objectives, such as finding all treasure chests in a region or defeating a certain monster a specific way. I spent hours running and flying around the world doing everything I could to check off that next objective, and these were some of my best times with Chained Echoes. This game gives you so much to do, and it was always a struggle to choose whether to progress through the amazing story or to dig into the quality optional content. Based on its very positive reception, I was sure that I would have a good time with Chained Echoes, but I did not expect the game to blow me away the way that it did. There are probably thousands of indie RPGs out there that claim that they are a love letter to JRPGs, but Chained Echoes actually is in more ways than you could ever imagine. The story is outstanding and driven by a large cast of quality characters who are all lovable in their own way. Yeah, that's right, even you, Tomcat. Chained Echoes' visual style is beautiful, and this high standard can also be seen in the outstanding soundtrack. The same can be said about the awesome turn-based combat system, which works so well thanks to the overdrive system. But when you're not playing through the story or kicking ass in combat, chances are that you'll be exploring the vast world and sinking your teeth into the plethora of optional content. It's really not easy to find fault in Chained Echoes, but there were a couple of areas that could be slightly improved. One being the lack of explanations and accessible tutorials, and the other being the fiddly crystal system, which should be a lot easier to use. Chained Echoes is sensational, and it's easily up there with Xenoblade 3 and Elden Ring as my favourite games of 2022. This game is so easy to recommend to all fans of 90s and early 2000s JRPGs. What did you think of Chained Echoes? Did you like it as much as I did? Let me know in the comments below. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you liked this review, feel free to hit that like button and sub for more JRPG content coming soon. See you next time.